Okay, we're live.
My homie's already in here.
Of course. That's awesome.
Not Brandon, Kyler.
Oh.
The new guy. The new guy in town.
What's up, dude? Glad to have you. Let's see. Yeah, this is definitely going to pick up both of us. It's like the perfect spot. Alright. It feels like it's only been a week. But of course it has. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. If it's your first time, what's going on? My name's Rob. This is Night Image Designs live stream. We do it every Friday, me and Brandon. It's just kind of a way to like chill out and talk about cool stuff. Sometimes I paint. Sometimes I sculpt. I'm definitely going to get into some different types of things to work on during the live streams, but that's usually how it goes. I just turn on the live stream and I sit down, work, answer some questions, talk about cool topics. It's just supposed to be a real chill thing.
Yeah,
so,
and it's whatever you guys want to talk about. If you want to bring up something in pop culture, movies, video games, comic books, whatever it is.
It's definitely not just the top. It's not just what I'm working on as the topic. Obviously, like other things that pique people's interest, I'm super down to talk about. But we usually go for a couple hours, between 2 to 3, depending on
how awake we are.
Yeah, I mean today's not that bad, but last live stream was pretty exhausting.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a little bit I'm gonna start working on this. If you're unaware of what I'm working on, obviously from the the thumbnail, it's Godzilla. This is a passion project of mine. I've been kind of chipping away at little by little. It's definitely exerting a lot of time. Reason being, it's completely covered in scales, and scales aren't necessarily difficult to do. I haven't had any like real tough experiences with them other than with this guy. Reason being, he kind of has a cross breed between realistic and fantasy, and I know it doesn't make much sense, but from like a concept point of view, it's kind of difficult to kind that medium of where I'm trying to head towards, because I don't want him to look like a giant iguana, but I also want him to have that, the main features of Godzilla. So you kind of have to find a nice in between, and that's really the most difficult part of it. It's how detailed you want to go, because obviously the original Godzilla isn't super detailed. It's almost the original one was a fabricated suit, so trying to like recreate that kind of simplifies the art of it. And if I try to go into a more like crocodile look, he's just gonna look like a big hybrid crocodile. So yeah, it's definitely taking a little bit of time. He's filled with like a good 1,000 scales in total. I still got some on this side to go to. This is right here, I'm just kind of working on the stretch line, because he kind of like buckles a little bit, but because he has such a fat neck, it's a little exaggerated. I think the most time consuming part of this whole thing is the top of the head, and that's just because I'm being the most picky with it, because when you're working around like the neck area, the chest area, it's kind of easy to find a direction. And with the top of the head, you kind of also want to find a direction that's not too boring, because it's such a small area of the head, but it's such a focus. It's the focal point of the sculpture. So if you give it like one direction, it kind of simplifies, the patterning to it. And it's easy to simplify it around the body, because there's so much of it, you can't really like pay attention to all of it. But yeah, definitely in the top of the head, there's a lot of zigzags, there's a lot of cross hatching, and I'm still going with that original Godzilla theme. That's why all his scales are very deep, all his cuts are very deep. Right here, I haven't gone in with any of those deep cuts. This is kind of like soft and softened out, and that's because I need to make the molding jacket for it, and that the process going through all that is going to essentially damage some of the texture. So I'm just going to wait on adding all that towards the end. But the head definitely is going to get molded pretty soon. So I'm going all out texture with him. But yeah. I'm going to start working on him pretty soon. But if you guys have any questions or
questions
or anything you guys want to talk about, please let me know. If you're barely tuning in, what's up? Welcome. This is a every Friday kind of thing. So hopefully next Friday I won't be just working on Godzilla, and I'm definitely not going to go back to not Congo. Frankenstein. I did him for two sessions, and that's just because I wanted to finish at least the head on the live stream, because I have a video in the process of getting made, which I'm gonna post sometime soon. It was done by my good buddy Alan. He's an amazing cinematographer. But when that video drops, it kind of just sums up everything in like 4 minutes. So I didn't want to continue the live stream going too far into the painting process, because it would just be unnecessary. But when that video drops, if you guys don't know, I'm going to be doing a giveaway for the Frankenstein. I don't really know the specifics of how I'm going to do it yet, but just stay tuned. When the video drops, I'll have directions and everything. It might be, a very, this simple giveaway protocol. So, that might come within the next week or two, probably next week. To be honest, all I need is just to do a little minor things here and there, and I should be good to post. But yeah, stay tuned to that. But anyways, I think I'm going to get started on sculpting. Like I said in the beginning, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, DM me about them. If it's your first time on the live stream, welcome. So I'm just doing some last minute check stuff, and then we should be good to go.
Kyler already got a question.
Yeah, start throwing me some questions. You got some.
He said y'all hear about Dr. Seuss. What about him? I haven't heard anything.
About Dr. Seuss.
Yeah. Is he back from the grave? No, I don't.
Did he make a new book?
About him. The only thing I've heard that's like social media, quote unquote, news is like millennials trying to cancel Eminem because from the
good luck.
No, from the song he did with Rihanna like 10 years ago, Love the Way You Lie. They're like, at the line where he said, I'm going to tie you to the bed and light this house on fire. They're like, we need to cancel Eminem because he's talking about burning a girlfriend or something. I'm like, wasn't his first album him and his daughter dumping his ex-wife's body? Wasn't that like that album cover? Like, he's been pissing people off for over like 20 years.
Have you heard his
like,
new stuff?
You can't cancel him from a song 10 years ago. You should have heard, like, he joined the scene with the bar. Hi kids, you like violence? Want me to stick 9-inch nails through each one of my eyelids?
But no, you can't cancel Eminem.
Yeah, but I've heard nothing about Dr. Seuss, so
yeah. What's the whole thing about Dr. Seuss?
Elaborate on that, because now I'm interested. And I'm gonna go on Instagram and do questionnaires. So if you want to go through that to ask questions.
Yeah, if you want to go on Instagram, I'm gonna post right now. You can ask questions there, or right in the live chat, you can ask some stuff. But welcome, guys. Thank you for coming by. It's just gonna be a chilled session today. I think me and Brandon are wide awake, unlike also, the last one.
But also exhausted.
Yeah, more wide awake than usual.
Yeah. It's a Friday. Got that.
It's a Friday.
Got that excited for the weekend type of energy.
Well, the weekend gets worse for me.
Oh, yeah, me too. I got yard work.
Yeah, I'm gonna start real soon, so bear with me, guys.
Yes, yes.
Just letting everybody know I'm going live right now.
Okay, so Kyler said about Dr. Seuss, he got canceled because he was quote unquote racist. His original book, One Fish, Two Fish, sold on eBay for $151,000 a few days ago. Damn.
Wait, what? An original copy?
It says his original book.
Oh, his original book. I'm like, an original copy? I'm like, are they that rare? I have.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have
I
so
have
many Dr.
some.
Seuss books from when I was a little kid. But he got canceled because he was racist. Well, yeah, he's an old guy. It just comes with.
You can't cancel someone from a different generation. It's like
you
trying to
can't
cancel
somebody that's dead. He's already been canceled.
No.
In the literal sense.
Yeah. So how you guys doing tonight? So I have a bone to pick, and I think right now is an amazing time to talk about this topic.
Oh, this is gonna be what I think it's gonna be.
Yes.
Okay.
So I watched the season finale of WandaVision last night. Actually, I watched it today. Today's Friday. So I watched it earlier this morning, and I gotta say, it was garbage. Not that it was like complete garbage, but I mean, considering what they were kind of like leading us to believe, the final ending would kind of, what would kind of be in it, it was kind of disappointing. There was that whole statement that it was going to lead into, Doctor Strange in the multiverse. That whole movie, it was going to have some stuff that leads into the whole Spider-Man movie, and it had none of that. I don't know what they were trying to lead us into. Like, what are the next few movies after that? The end credits were very disappointing. The whole thing with the Supergirl chick that randomly got superpowers. And I know she's an original comic book character, but the way they kind of brought her in, the agent, if you don't refer to the agent that got sucked into Wanda's bubble in the first few episodes, and then got shot out by Wanda from her home. It looks like they're leading into maybe a spin-off film with her, a spin-off show with her. And I just could care less. I'm like, it was such a wasted opportunity of an end credit scene to end off with her going to the mothership of the Skrulls or something like that. That's what it kind of seemed like they were insinuating.
It sounded like you said squirrels.
Skrulls.
Scrolls.
But
Squirrels.
But yeah, and then I was like, okay, and right now I'm just talking about the end credit scenes because I feel like that was what bothered me the most from the season finale. Even though technically, yes, it's not the actual part of the finale. It's just kind of like an end credit, just like a little extra scene given to you by the end. But you would expect it to kind of like lead into the next phase of Marvel movies, and it was just bad. The final end credit with like Wanda in her little cabin. And this is spoilers, by the way. I'm if you haven't watched it, you're
not a real fan.
No, just
which Robert's not a real fan, but he definitely watched it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk completely about. Actually, no, I'm not gonna go into like full detail because if you want to just watch
say it was lackluster. Could have been better.
Yeah, it was just lackluster. The end credits. If I did spoil it for you, I didn't spoil much. Trust me. You're gonna watch it and be like, oh, okay.
Trust me, you're not gonna be happy with it either.
Yeah, I'm saving you the time scrolling through waiting for the end of the credit. Like, it's just not worth it, And then the final end credit also was very lackluster. I was expecting a lot, considering all that went down. So, I was expecting stuff with Doctor Strange. That's a big, spoiler warning. Like, he's not in it, which... Not really a spoiler. It's just like debunking the fan theory that he was going to make an appearance. He's not in it. It sucks.
Yeah, because that's what everyone was looking forward to.
WandaVision almost seemed like a side quest. If it didn't existed, if the show never happened, it's not that it would have no effect on what happens from here on out with the MCU, but it definitely could have been handled a lot quicker in certain, movies like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse. Like, a lot of what happened in the series probably could have been, dealt with during that time period. With, Wanda being the Scarlet Witch. That's not a spoiler. Like, if you haven't watched the series at all, well, I don't feel bad talking about that. The finale, though, I don't want to talk about because that just barely came out today. So I want to give people some time to watch through that. But, like the whole Wanda being the Scarlet Witch. I mean, it's cool. I'm glad that they kind of referred to her as that, finally. But I feel like that definitely could have been handled during the Doctor Strange multiverse movie. Not saying that I know the plot and that that there's not enough space to implement all those plots. But I feel like it didn't need to be a whole TV show to say, yeah, she's the Scarlet Witch.
Oh, and a quick follow-up on that Dr. Seuss thing. So basically, they're not going to be selling his stuff in stores anymore. Someone then sold Green Eggs and Ham for $32,000 yesterday.
Dang. The original copy?
Just a copy. They're done selling his stuff in stores anymore because he's a racist.
Everybody's...
But the art of the deal's still at Barnes & Noble. But we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, let's not talk about
We're not going to get political, but... So, yeah. WandaVision...
Like, that was literally like the expression I had after the series was over.
Much, it's what you should expect when going into something MCU-wise. It's like, if you like it, give it a shot, but don't be surprised if you're disappointed.
Yeah, and it's like, that's how it kind of works. It's like, it's so big, DC, just pick and choose what you want.
Yeah.
And you don't have to get all grumpy about the whole image, because there's so much to it.
Yeah.
There's a huge library of what you can choose, of what to like about it, what not to like about it. And WandaVision would just, for me, in my opinion, kind of just fell in that category of I could deal with that.
Yeah, and there's some fans that are like, I have to watch every single thing from this universe to get the bigger picture. And honestly, if you're not fans of WandaVision, the only thing that, like, it doesn't change anything, because if you go see a movie in the future, you'll be like, oh, this obviously happened because so-and-so's here and this is here and whatnot. It's not like you need to catch the entire story, because the entire story was just stuff she made up. So, at the end of the day, it was pretty meaningless in a way, but if you like those characters and the premise of the show interests you, give it a shot. And if you like it, good for you.
Yeah.
Go check Instagram, see if people are actually participating this time.
Participate. Yeah, the last live stream was a little dry.
It just wasn't a good day, but
it was just one of those.
But you have those days.
Yeah.
No biggie. I put it on my wrong Instagram. I put on the Instagram that has like 200 followers. Yeah. Let me go put it on the other one.
Yeah, like I said, if you guys want to like ask some questions, tune in. Either message me or respond to my story. You can put in your question on the live chat, or if you follow Brandon, you can send him some questions.
Oh, my buddy Travis said he's going to join right now too. He said, are we serious about these topics, or are we in a laughish mood? Because I got them good questions for days. I said, give us whatever you got, dude.
Oh, we're definitely serious.
If there's something we don't want to talk about, we won't talk about it. But we'll take all the content we can get so we can stretch this baby 2 hours. Because that's always the goal.
Yeah, whatever stretches this for 2 hours.
Yeah, because last time our Instagrams were so dry, we were trying to come up with questions on the spot. We pretty much talked about everything that was eventful for that week, so it was there was a lot of silence and a lot of us just talking random conversation amongst each other, and everyone was just watching it. That's probably why we didn't have a lot of people watching or asking questions, because they're like, eh.
Yeah, the thing with these live streams, which like, bear with us and understand that it's a mixture of just kind of live streaming a live session of me sculpting. Like, I could easily just talk about the sculpture for an entire 2 hours, but it's difficult when the piece I'm working on, I've been working on for the past 2 months. So the basic knowledge of kind of showing you guys what it takes to tackle something like this is far gone. Like, I already passed all those steps. So at this point, like, if I was to discuss anything about the sculpture, it would definitely just be about random topics that popped in my head and wouldn't probably relate to this at this point. I mean, I could still do that, but the whole point of these live streams are kind of just to have like a nice it's almost like, you would refer to it almost as like a podcast, where you just kind of have a nice discussion about different topics that went on throughout the week, while also working on something that's kind of eye appealing, and that's kind of how these are gonna kind of go. But so all topics are open. If you want to talk about anything, I'm open to anything. If you want to ask sculpting questions, I'm 100% down for that too. Anything relevant, anything irrelevant.
Anything you got, we're desperate. No, just playing.
Yeah, I'm open to all forms of questions. Art related, movie related. Just not politically related. Like, I don't want to talk about.
We're pretty well versed in pop culture, so I think anything you got.
Anything.
I think anything, unless it's anime, because we're too busy to keep up on 100,000 episode long shows.
Yeah.
Like, there's some animes I've watched, but they're animes that have been finished and they have like 30 episodes. Nothing crazy.
The only anime that I've actually like completely watched from like every single episode is like Dragon Ball. And that's like it. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. That's like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite anime is Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. No, I've only seen... I've seen Parasite, which was pretty sick. And I saw Death Note, which was really awesome. But don't watch the Netflix movie. It just wasn't good.
Yeah, I watched the Netflix movie. That was terrible.
Did you see
did you see the
actual show?
No.
Dude,
but the movie itself was bad.
Nothing the same. Nothing the same.
Yeah, I think the only anime I've watched, obviously number one being Dragon Ball. Second being One Punch Man.
I've only seen the first few episodes, but it was so funny.
I watched a little bit of Cowboy Bebop, but not enough to say where I'm considerably like a fan. Like, not that I didn't like it, but I didn't watch enough. That's like watching one episode of The Mandalorian and being like, yeah, I'm a Star Wars guy. So, that's like the extent to what I've seen as far as anime goes.
Oh, guess what I just saw on on Instagram right now?
What?
That scene of Quicksilver's actual name.
Oh, okay.
They just showed the little clip. You said the end credits were the only thing that really bugged you, but that's not true.
Give me the name of him again.
Ralph Boner.
Okay. Now,
did I say that loud enough?
Just to start off, if you didn't hear what Brandon was talking about, what's his name again? The actor, Evan Peters, that portrayed the role in
X-Men.
In X-Men as Quicksilver, made it his cameo in the last episode, or one of the last episodes of WandaVision. And it was all speculated, like, is he in correlation to the multiverse, this and that, and we find out that he's just kind of like a puppet, but there's still kind of hope on who he actually is. And in the last episode, his real name is revealed as Ralph Boner.
My buddy just joined and he said, Ralph who? Yes, you heard that correctly. That's the MCU for you, broski.
So, Yeah, like that's great. That's exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, we didn't want multiverse.
No, no,
Why on earth would we want X-Men and the MCU colliding?
of course not.
They have to reboot the X-Men, which
Yeah.
they are apparently.
It's ridiculous. Why would we want that? Why would we want quality?
You mean why would we want quantity? They're definitely doing it so that they can make a bunch of movies.
All right, I'm gonna talk a little bit about sculpting because I feel like it's fair during a sculpting live stream to have a little discussion about sculpting.
I disagree.
But first point of I wanted to make of what I'm using is Chivant. I'm using a Chivant clay, so it's like it's a non-hardening clay. The name for the clay, the brand is NSP medium, or NSP medium is the medium is the density of the clay, because there could be like NSP hard, NSP soft, but medium is kind of like the density I like to go with, and it's usually the clay I use most often. Number one being because it's kind of sticky. Meaning, like, when I'm, like, kind of applying clay on top of itself, it sticks pretty well, almost like wet clay. Wet clay is not air dry clay, but it's a water-based clay. And that clay is particularly sticky. And this kind of replicates that in that sense. But it's also like at a good density. Like at room temperature, it's at like its perfect form to work with. So, or to detail with, because like when you work with the clay, you have to warm it up, and that makes it incredibly soft, which makes it easier to build and form with, because it's the beginning stages of a sculpture. You're kind of structuring it out, and then as you kind of layer on, once you get closer to like the final skin layer, you start adding texture, you start adding bumps, scales, all this good stuff, and by that time, when it reaches its room temperature, it's really nice to work with.
Travis had a couple sculpting questions. He said the Chivant you get, is it a block, like a clay block? Or
Yeah, I'll show you right now.
And he also said, is the clay expensive to do sculpts the size that you're doing?
So this is a piece I already started like taking chunks out of, but that's what it comes like when you buy it.
So imagine how many bricks you need to make Godzilla.
Yeah, so like you can kind of multiply how how many you would need by how much mass of this project is, and this project took about probably like a little over 10. The density of it's not super dense. He has a skeletal structure, which takes place of, if you were to add more clay, it takes that place, which makes it less costly.
Yeah, just clay saver.
It's cheaper to form out your entire sculpture with like aluminum foil before you start packing it on. Because if I were just to start the sculpture with this, and then I start adding on top of it, it becomes so heavy and so expensive to work with. So, giving it that structure, that initial structure, really helps with the cost.
He said, damn, son. But he also says the clay expensive to do sculpts the size you're doing. So in perspective, is doing Godzilla expensive? To
get a perspective, depending on where you buy it, you're looking at like $1, $2 difference, but like depending on where you buy it, it's going to be between like $10 to $11. At least that's how much these bricks cost me.
So I guess it depends on whatever expensive means to you.
Yeah, so it also depends, because clay is reusable, obviously, if you don't get crap in it, like you don't get dust, hair, or little pieces of wood in it, or aluminum foil in this case. So you can definitely, like, when I'm done with this, strip it down and reuse it again. But to get a perspective, yeah, like this little brick, how many it would take for me to do all this, around like 10, 11 maybe 12 bricks. And you're looking at like $10 a piece.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely a lot.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, once he's molded, you can ball them up and throw them in a bucket and use them later.
And that's exactly what I have. I have like 3 5-gallon drums of used up clay that were stripped down and dumped back in there to reuse. Like, he's not new clay. He's all recycled clay. This entire sculpture is recycled clay from an original sculpture I did. And that's why I kind of stopped using, you know, the new one. That's why I have so many new bricks. Cause,
that's why that brick's still wrapped up in plastic.
Yeah, because they're so expensive. I just, like, save them for when I really need them.
Yeah, he said that ain't too bad. Considering how costly it could be, the fact that you could just recycle it, and as you save up money from selling the busts and sculpts that you sell, you could get more clay if you need it, and if you don't, just keep using what you got.
Yeah, so you got to look at it like that. It's like whatever the sculpture was before this cost $120 worth of clay. This one costs nothing. And the one after this is going to cost nothing. And it's just kind of an investment as long as you take care of it. You know, sometimes I like to put a bag over my sculpture when I'm done using it, depending on how dusty or dirty it is in here. If I'm working on other stuff, if I'm grinding, if I'm shaving away at anything, filing anything down.
Yeah, this isn't even the only clay sculpture that's in the room. There's like 3 or 4.
Yeah, you see that one back there?
Yeah, and there's one further in that corner.
That thing took this little creature right here. He has a head laying down somewhere back there. That's the mimic. I made a video on that a lot earlier. That one took over, estimating about like 30 bricks.
Yeah, in the video he looks really small because he's in the background, but he's about the size of a small child.
Yeah, he's about
pretty big.
He's about like the size of like my belt to, you know, the top of my head.
He'd
like,
probably be 2.5 feet tall if he wasn't hunched over.
And he weighs probably around like 60, 70 pounds.
Yeah. Travis said that Godzilla it's sculpted so smoothly for it being old clay. You definitely have to heat it up to make it pliable, though.
If you're talking about like old clay, meaning like
used
it's
clay.
not full of junk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
meaning it's recycled.
It's well taken care of. Like if you're wondering the kind of life of that a block of clay goes through, when it's a brick, it's put into like a little heated oven or a little hot oven to heat up at around like 100. What I said it at like around like 150, 145 degrees. That's usually like the best softness for the clay to work with, and once you're using it, like once it's like at softness, I like chop it up into like little loaves of bread, and I like use those little loaves, and that's how I like start blocking off my sculpture. And then, you know, you kind of like chop it up so you're not just like grabbing like handfuls off of the brick and just making it all sloppy and messy, because essentially, like, if you don't use the full amount of brick, it's kind of like nicely cut apart so you can put that away and save it for like another sculpture. And once it's all melted, you know, you have your sculpture, and you're done with it, you mold it, and you just have this leftover clay. You have to strip it back down into like a nice little pile, put it back in the oven, help it kind of like reform back into like a denser little ball or something a little bit more manageable, and then you just dump it back in the bucket. And then when you're ready to use it, put it back in the oven, let it heat up, and just start reusing it again. So clay is kind of, it's very submissive to whatever like you want to use it for. It's not really like a difficult type of material to reuse.
Yeah, and to dumb it down as much as possible. It's just like, think of when you were a kid and you had Play-Doh. As long as you didn't mix them up, get dirt in them, hair in them, you could just put it back in the tub, and then whenever you're ready to use it, you could use it again. Granted, this is more expensive than professional, but that's the same kind of idea.
And it doesn't dry out either.
Yeah.
So it'll last. It'll last a long time.
Yeah.
I've seen sculptures that are like, you know, a decade old, and they're still alive. They might like have a little bit of separation between the waxes, but
Little cobwebs.
yeah, it might be a little like oily or something. But the only clay that I've seen that has issues with, drops in temperature, because if it gets hot in here and it gets cold in here and it gets hot in here, this doesn't have much of an effect, but like monster clay kind of does. Sometimes it'll try to separate if you heat it for too long.
Monster clay could just become soup if you heat it for too long.
It'll start to separate, and you'll have this like white like layer, and it's not this random. It's separating itself. That's like the actual wax. And that's why, like, I don't like monster clay is like very sensitive to heat too. It melts really quickly. Like if you try to do like a matrix mold, if you don't know what a matrix mold is, that's like a whole nother topic.
Yeah, we'll save that for a different stream.
But anything that kind of like heats it up, past like 80 degrees, 90 degrees, it'll start to melt.
Oh, our boy Brandon just joined and he said, "Hello, my Hydra sisters." What's up, Brandon?
Hey, Brandon.
Thanks for coming back.
Hmm.
And Travis also said, "The sculptures are so cool. What got you into sculpting?"
I got into sculpting around my high school year. I don't know what it was. I think it was like the challenge. I remember doing a lot of illustration since I was in like preschool, not preschool, like honestly before school, like I just drew stuff, and then once I reached like kindergarten, that's when like my teacher noticed that like I wouldn't draw stick figures, and she mentioned it to like my parents, so like I might have like a talent at art, and then that's when I kind of like noticed it. In the sense, you don't really notice your talent, you just kind of like work with it, and if people like it, you kind of just keep going with it. And my parents really, when my parents found out that I could draw, they kind of just like pushed me a little bit to kind of pursue it as like a hobby. And they might have pushed me a little bit too much to pursue it, to the point where I didn't like to draw anymore, and I would not to bash on them. They're the only reasons I'm where I'm at right now, and without them, I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I'm at.
Yeah,
but
the studio definitely wouldn't be a studio; it'd be a shed.
Yeah, but like as far as like my like persistence in art has gone, it's definitely been based off of them and their support.
Everything.
Yeah, but like when I was little, I kind of like stopped liking to do it because it seemed more of a chore rather than fun time.
Yeah, I haven't been illustrating for probably like 2 years now. A,
yeah.
From carpal tunnel, and B, it's just not fun for me anymore.
And it definitely can be fun depending on what you're working on, and depending how little you work on drawing. Because like I have like if I don't draw for like 6 months, I'll definitely get the itch where I'm like, it's been 6 months or something. Like I want to do like a little drawing.
Yeah. Just
for the sake of doing something artistic that doesn't take a considerable amount of time, and then afterwards I don't work on it again. But yeah, sorry. It took up until my high school year to realize I liked art, because for a good portion between like my elementary years to junior high years, I kind of stopped. Between my junior high years, I probably drew maybe once or twice for like the whole 3 years. I think junior high is like 3 years, right? It's like
6, 7, 8.
Yeah, so like for the whole 3 years, I probably drew a picture maybe once or twice, maybe 3 times. And once I got into high school, my freshman year, I got caught up into rest. I know I'm going into this like prolonged like explanation, but I think it's fine to kind of get to the narrative of what I'm talking about. But
yeah, get to know you better.
Yeah, in high school, my freshman year, my sister was in art, and I kind of, when you see your siblings doing something that you feel like you can just like, you get like kind of competitive in some way, and
I'll be a better artist than you.
Yeah, like you get competitive in that way. And I remember when I was like a freshman and she was, I think a junior at the time. She was like in these art classes. I would go on like Friday after schools to see her compete. um, at like the school art shows, or we'd go to like Apple Valley and do some other art shows, and it was like all these school events, and like I would see other people's work, and I would just be like, oh, like I feel like I can do that. I feel like I can do that better. And I remember I always like felt
modest and humble.
I always felt strongly towards that way when it came to sculpting, and I don't think it was that I felt like I could do it better. I just felt like I felt like I could just do that in general, because I didn't do sculpting up until like my late senior year, and it was more that I feel like I can do that. Like that doesn't seem too hard of a talent to, like of a medium to start from scratch. Like,
yeah,
because obviously like I mentioned, I've been doing drawing since I was in, since as long as I can remember, but sculpting, I didn't even take like a notice to it until I was in high school. And once I started going to those competitions, I remember one particular competition where I saw a bunch of little like pottery sculptures, and I saw one, and I'm not going to be modest explaining this because I was a little kid, and I felt the way I felt when I was that little kid. But I remember seeing it and being like, this is first place. This is disgusting. Like, this is first place. And I think that, as arrogant as that sounds, I feel like that's what drove me to want to pursue sculpting the following year. And that's when I took, I think my junior year, I took a pottery class. And because obviously there's no sculpting classes, you would just take a pottery class, and sometimes different assignments allowed you to sculpt, to make different things. You had like the basic assignments, like a coil pot, or those like rain stick things, and
it'd always be something juvenile, even in high school, where it's like you should be pretty decent at art if it's what you're doing as a late teenager. Like, your brain should already be like functioning well enough to be able to understand the forms and whatnot. You're definitely not gonna be Rick Baker on day one.
It definitely wasn't like
there's definitely
a lesson. There was no lesson based on like skill set or any like previous teachings of other artists. Like, it was more of just like, so we're making a coil bot today. There's this YouTube video on how to do it. Go check that out. And then it's due in 3 weeks. And there was no lesson behind it. It was just kind of like, go figure it out. Like, it's just, we're making this stupid little trinket, and then that's gonna count towards your grade. I don't know really where I'm going with that, but like I just that's how I felt. I felt so strongly towards like the little assignments where it was just like it's so pointless.
Yeah.
As far as like, because like in my opinion, if you're taking an art class, it's either one because you want a class that's like super easy and that you don't like, that's an easy elective, or two, you're actually looking for information to learn on how to do something. And I definitely didn't learn on how to do anything within that class, but it did give me a platform to work with. I had all the materials, I had all the resources to kind of do the things I wanted to do. And I think it took my teacher like a few months, my pottery teacher, a few months to realize that I didn't want to do the assignments, or that I wasn't doing her assignments, that I was just making sculptures that I liked. But she appreciated that I was the only kid that actually liked her class. Like, that class only had one AP sculpting student, and that was me. I was the only one that wanted, or that she... It was a mixture of like, it was the only kid that wanted to do it and the only kid she offered
it to.
Yeah, offered it to. And like in senior year, I had how many? I had maybe, it could have been 3, but all I remember was 2 AP classes. I believe I had another one, if I'm not mistaken, I had a 4th one, but I do remember the only ones being, I was like in the AP, you know, drawing, which is like art, and then the AP sculpting class. And I was the only student in the AP sculpting class, I think, for the majority of the year. And then later on towards the end, maybe like, or the last semester, maybe like 1 or 2 students. I can't remember. But yeah, anyways, like going back to the story of how I got into art or sculpting. Yeah, it kind of took that one moment of me being like, oh, like this is what people are being acknowledged for, is being good. And yeah, I'm going into kind of like an ignorant moment in my life, a more narcissistic moment. But yeah, like I felt that way in that moment, and that's what kind of sparked me to want to pursue art, because I felt like I could do it. I felt like I could do a good job. And I started doing little sculptures in my pottery class, and I got sick of doing coil pots and mugs and all this little stuff. So like every project, I kind of wanted to improve upon it. So if I did a coil pot, it was a dragon that was, circling around, making, a little coil, and then, it ends off with like his head, like looking into the pot. And that was my way of bypassing the, the kind of the regulations of the project, while being able to do my own thing. I made the teacher happy while also making myself happy. And I think after a while, she kind of just let me do her own thing. I think I had a talk with her. And she told me, she's like, I know you actually like doing this stuff. So, just do what you want. You need 6 projects by the end of the year. Whatever those 6 projects are, I'll grade you on them, and that will be your grade. So my grading system was completely different from everybody else's, because I was graded on whatever I did. And whatever I did, she would always just give me an A for. She never graded based off of performance. She graded based off of
The finished piece.
yeah, a finished piece. And she always enjoyed my pieces. So like she never had an issue. And that's when I kind of started like building a love towards sculpting, because it all started in that class, whether I was taught or not. It was an outlet for me to get away from my other classes. It was the only class. It was literally the only, because I had an illustrating class, and that class was, draw something. You need to have 12 illustrations by the end of the year, and illustrating was pretty quick for me. So it's not like I sat there and it was always like problem solving. It was just kind of like I sit there and I draw something that looks like it means something but really doesn't. It's not like I could have sat there and drawn like dinosaurs or Star Wars stuff, or Godzilla.
You could just make it poetic.
It had to be something poetic. So I didn't really enjoy those classes. But when I was in sculpting, I sculpted a T-Rex head. I sculpted a little gizmo, and if I can find those pictures, I'll show. But I pretty much spent the majority of my pottery class just sculpting whatever I wanted to. Granted, it took a while before my teacher realized that.
You were neglecting the assignments.
Yeah, but she appreciated how much I cared for the class, and that's what allowed her to. And that's what allowed me to kind of go my own direction and do whatever I want.
Yeah, Brandon said that's the beauty of it. When you have the passion toward the art, instead of half-assing for an easy grade, it'll work in your favor.
Yeah, and like continuing this story after, and I remember that that sculpting class was the reason I quit wrestling in high school. Because wrestling, if you don't know, it's a very demanding sport, and you pretty much have to be committed to it. Like every meathead. No, I'm not gonna go in that.
Let's just diss the whole team right here.
Because I had a bunch of buddies that were brilliant.
I know.
In wrestling. But like every wrestler was kind of brainwashed into the idea that's like, if you work hard here and you do good here and you go to state, you're gonna get a free ride scholarship, or at least you'll get some of your education paid for college. And it was always that, like, you need this, like, this is for your education. Yet, um, it didn't allow you to have time to do homework. It didn't allow you to have time. I remember for finals we had, it was the second day of finals, because finals you have 2 days to finish before, and those that didn't finish on the second day, whatever you finished was it. And I remember we had a tournament, and this happened more than once. We had a tournament, and one of the students, a good chunk of them, there's only one in particular that I remember spoke out on the fact that he didn't finish his final, and we were leaving during school to go to this tournament, and that he didn't finish his final, and he had to miss the tournament because he had to finish his final. And the coach was furious with him. And it was almost like, when you're like talking to a crazy person, there's no sensibility to like, they just like, they mean what they mean, and they don't care if you have a logical response to it or not. They're just like, well, it's affecting what I want, so I don't care. Like the coach was like pissed off at him. I think they kicked him off the team.
For doing his final.
They could have kicked him off the team, or he did something else afterwards that got him kicked off the team, or he left. I can't really remember.
I'm sure he left.
But it was a
after
huge
that.
thing that he was staying to finish his finals instead of going to the tournament. So that's what I mean by, like, it was very demanding, and that's what kind of hindered me from pursuing art in high school, for the majority of high school. And then towards the end, I quit the team because I was like, yeah, I go home every day and I just want to sculpt Yoda, like, at the time I was working on a Yoda sculpture. It was like, I just want to go home and I want to sculpt Yoda. Like, I don't want to go after school. I don't want to lift weights. I don't want to go run 3 miles before we start practice. Like, I want to enjoy my high school. I didn't want to enjoy my high school. I wanted to enjoy my art. I wanted to work on that. And
you want free time to do what you wanted to do.
And I remember I would tell my my coach that I just wanted to do art, and he was like, "Well, is that going to pay your bill?" Like, there's always that one person, and if you haven't experienced that one person, good for you. But there's always that one person that always has to find the safe, that has to, like, explain the flaws behind your dreams, in the sense it's like, if you play it safer, it's better to play it safer than follow your dreams, because following your dreams requires risk, and most people don't believe in risk because they've never made the effort to experience risk. And I never could, like, logically explain to him why I wanted to leave sculpting. I mean wrestling. So it just took me just leaving for him to just, well, you couldn't do anything about it. But yeah, I was given a lot of shit for that. But yeah, and then around junior year is when I started, like, getting into sculpting. I became very passionate about it. I loved it a lot, and I would go home and finish my school projects. I would tell my teachers, like, can I, like, it was always a thing, like, don't take it home. But she let me, and sometimes I would just steal it, and I would take it home and work on it until, she started letting me just do whatever I wanted. And I think one of the first sculptures I did in her class where she gave me, like, free range to do was probably Frankenstein.
Not the one that's currently on the Etsy store.
Yeah,
not that one.
It was a really, I wouldn't say shoddy, but it was a really, like, rough version.
If you started sculpting as a senior and that's what you came up with, it's not bad.
So here's, since I have this picture, I'm looking through my old photos. I have the coil pot of the dragon, if it loads. Oh, here we go. But it's obviously, like, really rough, but this was back when I was, like, I think a junior. And it's like, that's, like, one of my first, I think this is actually my first attempt to turning one of her one of my teachers' assignments into an actual like fun project that I like enjoyed. So yeah, I don't know if you can like really see it.
Yeah, it focused.
But yeah, that was one of my first sculptures. I think this was my first sculpture, like my first real attempt at sculpture.
Travis said, my dad gets like that, so I can relate about the coach, where it's like logic and reason just goes out the window. It's just what I want.
Oh yeah, and sometimes you just gotta like follow whatever makes you passionate, because
Yeah.
like determination and the unwillingness to give up, it's gonna take you all the way. It's not gonna take you halfway. It's not gonna take you a quarter of the way. It's gonna take you all the way. And then this was the Frankenstein project, where she finally just let me do my own thing.
See, that's what I'm saying. If you've only been sculpting for a few months and that's what you come up with, that's not bad at all. At all.
And then I think I don't think I have it anymore. Was like a little picture of my display booth at one of the art shows with all my little stuff on it. It sucks I don't have any. Actually, yeah, I think I might have some of the old ones. Oh, this is one of my first fabricated projects. I was like 6. No. I was like 13. I had to have been like 13 here.
Oh, Brandon also commented and said, Rob, dang, you looking like the main chick snatcher in the club.
Oh my god. But
You
here,
should have saw him 10 minutes before the stream started. Looked like a whole ass bum.
that's something I did when I was like 14.
That's so sick.
I was in high school. I fabricated that thing. It's none of it's sculpted. It's like matte foam and cardboard, and then I painted it to look. Yeah, this was a long time ago. This was I made that when the trailer for Jurassic World came out, so I might have been a little older than 14. But yeah, it was like one of the first things I ever fabricated, and
Wait till V2 comes out.
Oh yeah, I always tend to resculpt things from my childhood without even like consciously realizing, like the Raptor project. You know,
hardly
like,
begun, but
yeah, that's hardly begun. It's something I did when I was a little kid, and now I'm redoing it. The Frankenstein as well. Godzilla, not quite, but this is the second attempt at sculpting him. So I tend to go, backwards on some of my. This is, I kid you not, this is probably the first thing I've ever sculpted. I can't remember how old I was. This was before all the art classes. This was before everything. When I remember I did this with my dad as like a little competition. I don't remember why we did it either. But we did it for the sake of like seeing whose came out better. Mine didn't, obviously. Let me see if I get the picture to load. This was the first thing, and I can guarantee this is the first thing, not counting like Play-Doh projects, because obviously
that's not sculpting, that's just playing.
Yeah, like this is the first thing I've ever sculpted.
Oh, and Travis had another question about clay earlier before you went on your whole tangent about
What's up?
wrestling. No, I'm just kidding. He said, does the clay stain clothes, or is it hard to pull off clothes, or does it just chip off? Like if it gets it on your clothes?
Oh, if
does
it gets
it ruin them? Does it stain them, or is it just easy to pick off or whatever?
that's a kind of interesting question. I definitely wipe my hands on my pants while I'm sculpting, but I put them to wash and they come out of the washer and it's gone. Like
it's probably because like the heating element.
That's exactly what it is.
It's
when it's
just melting it
when
off.
it's warm. Like, let's say like you got like a big smear on your pants and you want to get it off. Cool it off, and the majority will scrape it off. Like if you put like a little ice cube on it, or like a little ice pack, or like a little or just put like a little air on it to cool it off. A good chunk will peel off, and then the rest of it. Honestly, I just say don't worry about it. It'll wash off.
Yeah. And it definitely won't pick off because what Rob said earlier, the sculpture will be alive for 10 years and it'll still be oily and
Yeah.
malleable and stuff.
So this is a little fabricated sculpture I did a while back. If you're if you're wondering what that is,
It's a teddy bear with a bandana.
it's an Ewok.
It's wicked.
But I cut up a bunch of little teddy bears and put it together. But yeah, that's like to give you like a sense of like what I started doing throughout high school.
You're
That
on
like
Sid
got
from
me.
Toy Story.
Yeah. Here's a picture of one of the sculptures I did in high school. This was, after she gave me free range to work on whatever I want. It's an alien. Obviously, if you can tell, it's like an alien head. And then I did a predator head, which I have the sculpture. I have all that still, but I don't have pictures of it. But yeah, that's what I started working on. The Frankenstein was something I continued to work on after high school. I tried putting it on a mannequin head and all that good stuff. And then this was the last sculpture I worked on at high school. This was when, I was about to graduate, and I was starting to do research on the effects industry. And I started looking up how to mold, how to cast. So all those other sculptures you saw are all pottery. Those are things that I sculpted with pottery clay and then baked it and then I painted over that. This was the first sculpture I actually sculpted and molded. And of course it's Yoda. It's super rough and it's adorable because it took me a long time. This was the first sculpture where I actually took time to really get everything all together. I sewed all the clothes myself. I did the armature myself. The base is like a little the base was sculpted out of foam, and then I fiberglassed over it, and then I painted it and added all that stuff. And he's mounted to the base. I made that little lightsaber too, but that was what immediately piqued my interest. As soon as I graduated, that's when I got my first job in the effects industry. I think it was 2 weeks. No, not 2 weeks. It was 2 months after I graduated high school. I think I started in July, my first job. So it was probably a month and a half, 2 months before I started working in the effects industry. And that's when my whole idea of what I wanted to do kind of exploded, because I realized I just knew the surface of it. I wasn't really familiar. I didn't have anybody that influenced me and kind of explained to me how the effects industry works, how they did Jurassic Park, how they did Star Wars. Those were also my main inspirations to sculpting was those movies, particularly Jurassic Park, obviously, for the main reason of it being one of the most best displayed cases of animatronics. And the T-Rex blew my mind as a little kid. I remember not being able to distinguish special effects from animatronics. And when I got older, you kind of figure it out. On YouTube, I remember watching the Stan Winston school YouTube videos. I think that was out for a while. That came out.
Those in the Studio ADI behind the scenes videos.
Yeah.
Definitely. They give good little behind the scenes insights.
And once I was able to see the full process of it, that's when and this was towards the end of my senior year, where I was like, geez, I didn't understand how far you have to go to get to a finished product. And that's what kind of was my guide to making that Yoda, which was my first sculpted, molded, and casted and painted piece. And after that, when I got my job, I started, if you didn't know, I worked at Ironhead Studios. And that's what started my kind of drive to pursue sculpting. And, I got to admit, I started late in the game, in my opinion, because, I hear sculptors that started, as long ago as I started drawing when I was a little kid. So I have a lot to catch up on. I'm not fully there yet, in the sense that like I'm still learning, and every artist learns. The moment you stop learning is the moment you stop caring, because there's always something to learn. But I'm definitely like set back a little bit in the sense like there's certain fundamentals I'm still trying to figure out the process of. I've never had that like mentor to kind of like explain to me, because like in the industry, sculpting has been dying off. It's been replaced with digital art. I did have cases where my boss was gracious enough to show me tricks here and there, but I never had that kind of outlet to grow from, because when there's something going on around you, you tend to pick up on it. In the sense like if you're working in a shop and someone's painting something or primering and sanding something, you kind of start to see it's like, oh, okay, like they go through the process of giving it a scuff first because they don't want the paint to peel off. You walk by them, you ask questions like what kind of material is that, or what kind of paint is that, or what kind of catalyst are you using, or what goes first. Are you mixing the primer with the clear, or I mean with the base, or are you putting the primer first and then the base, or do you mix the clear with the base? Like I kept asking questions, and it was very consistent and I was very consistent on figuring out what it took to do stuff. But when it came to sculpting, it was kind of difficult because I was never really around that much of it. In the sense, like I was, but I wasn't near it enough. Like I would walk past it, but where I worked was on a whole another facility side of that company, so I wasn't around it as much to be exposed to it. I wasn't like helping around that department enough to be exposed to it. So I've been trying to kind of figure things out on my own, and that's why like I've been kind of just during this pandemic kind of going solo and just spending some time just sculpting and selling my art, just pretty much being freelance for the past couple months, and I think I'll continue it for a while, because it's definitely giving me, with the basic knowledge I know from the industry and the basic knowledge I pick up here and there, it's allowing me to kind of use that knowledge and help myself grow at a different rate as to if I was fully, trying to discover this all on my own. It would be a lot more difficult because it's trying to like build a cell phone without, without knowing years of human evolution. The first cell phone wasn't built by using CNC machines, crazy computers. Like it was a lot more simpler. It was plugged into the wall. And I think like the first original cell phones, there was only like 2 of them in existence at the time. And then, once we got to like landlines and all that stuff, and then it evolved to, it was like house phones, and then it evolved to like cell phones.
Well, yeah, it's like look at when the phone was invented, like late 1800s, and then look at when the cell phone was invented, the 1990s.
Yeah, so like it's decades of
century
of like
but yeah, decades
of growth and knowledge. And if someone was trying to build a phone, they would use that years of use and knowledge, whether it be by being mentored by someone in the company that's showing them, going to school. Like it takes knowledge to grow from knowledge. Like you can't just expect to be the best when there's people, decades before you that have, perfected their methods that they've picked up from other artists. Like it passes down the generation, and that was just one thing I never was able to pick up was, a link of that knowledge. So I kind of just go solo on this and kind of figure out and work on my own. That's why a lot of my sculptures are kind of just whatever I want them to be. I try to be very particular when it comes to human anatomy, But when it comes to like creature stuff, like I kind of just do whatever I want. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. But that's just me kind of growing my method of, how I do things, and that was my issue initially from the beginning of the slime stream, where I explained that the texture is a mix between, realistic like reptiles and fictional reptiles, because I don't have familiarity with either, so just kind of doing my own thing and what I like, essentially. If any of that makes sense, I hope it does. But yeah. I'm kind of just going on a tangent of just branching off on the concept of or the explanation of what got me to love sculpting, and it was just kind of just
amalgamation of experiences. Basically.
Yeah. It's just, and it keeps growing. Like every day I find a new reason to love sculpting. Yeah. I watch a movie and I'm just like, oh my God, I want to go back to sculpting.
Like it's just an Instagram question to piggyback on that statement.
Okay, so yeah, answer some questions.
Well, Dylan said, because you did say earlier during the explanation that Jurassic Park and Star Wars what got you into sculpting, but Dylan said, what films really inspired you to want to be special effects artists? So not just sculpting. What made you want to do props and, which, granted, probably Star Wars.
So we're gonna get into like a huge.
Yeah. So we'll try and keep it short so we can fit more questions, because there's definitely more questions on the YouTube live.
That's good. We still have 48 minutes.
For me personally.
For me at my time right now, because this is like setback. All right. So answer
for that question. For me, I'd say the original Boris Karloff Frankenstein, American Werewolf in London. Star Wars for like props, and special effects, makeup as well, top notch. And I'd say the Harry Potter movies. Compare to the books, they're not great, but they definitely had good CGI, good special effects, good props.
Yeah.
Yeah. What say you?
Okay, so from what you'd see in my youthful years of I'm still in my youthful years, but in my more so youthful years of sculpting. I did a lot of Frankenstein and Yoda. So, as far as my inspiration for I'm going to break it down this way. My prefer, I guess, area of art is more so in like animatronics and like puppets. Like that's the area of effects. The effects industry that I like the most. I like masks, sculpting. I mean, I like masks. Big animatronic creatures or props. Like, definitely. And then second, I start to appreciate prosthetics. And you go into that area of what's a little bit more natural as to like these like big grand things, and then. I think, like, after all that, I appreciate, like, still sculptures. And not in the sense, like, they're not meant for anything other than being a sculpture. You're not sculpting something to, cast in latex and use as, like, a Halloween mask or as, like, a puppet. I appreciate art that is more for just, like, your enjoyment and for decoration. But I think first comes like big animatronic stuff. Like I appreciate that more.
Definitely anything that makes something not living look realistic and you believe it's really there. And like, because even CG isn't as good as it could be. Mm-hmm. Like in 10 years, CG will be way better than it is. Because look at CG 10 years ago. But that being said, like there's really good CG out there that's very convincing and that deserves. Like that's what's inspiring, not just CG in general. And same with sculpting and same with anything. Yeah, so with
breaking down and then the last category would probably be like props, weapons, all that good stuff, guns, blasters,
Which that could be literally anything.
Yeah.
There's so many movies that have great props.
With like animatronics and all that great stuff, Jurassic Park was the number one and will always be the number one inspiration for all of that. for me making a raptor head, obviously for me making that little puppet back there, that one. That was supposed to be an animatronic puppet with moving eyes and all that, but if I haven't gotten around to finishing the sculpture, I'm nowhere near doing all that. Like that was what inspired me to want to do big stuff like that. What inspired me to do like prosthetic work and masks and that like pretty much costuming, I guess it would go into that category of like costuming, would be a cross between, I think it's a little more diverse than just like costuming and masks, because Boris Karloff, the Frankenstein, inspired that part of me of like, the more I guess like the more like facial wearable pieces, like prosthetics, like it was that area that really like pushed me to love all that. And then with like costuming, Star Wars, of course, like that was like the number one movie for costuming. Obviously like one of my biggest cosplays is that he's back there. I'm not gonna point the camera, but the Scavenger.
Watch the video.
Watch the video. Like I love that stuff, and Star Wars was 100% the influence for all of that. And then when it goes down to like props and all that, Star Wars again was the number one inspiration for all that. The weapons, the guns, the helmets, like
the whole costumes.
the whole costume.
Full
Yeah,
armored
like
suits.
it's just like, I guess to simplify it, like Star Wars took a big inspiration for a lot of this, and Jurassic Park took it a whole nother large inspiration for the other side of it. And then when it comes to statues, I think what kind of drew me to that was the fact that, obviously making these big, elaborate things takes time, takes years, like, especially if you're a one-man army, depending on how far you're going with detail and how far you're going with what you want to do, or how far, how much of a perfectionist you are, like, especially when it's your own stuff, like, you want it to be the best it can be, and it takes time. And when working with stuff like this, it doesn't take as much time to create a sculpture as to creating, full body armor or a full Godzilla suit. Like, I could try to make a Godzilla suit. It'd probably take me over a year. As to, like, making a sculpture, that'll take me, like, a few months. So that's the beauty behind doing sculpting. And it also came from selling. I think what pushed me to want to do more still sculptures as to, like, wearable costumes, because I haven't gotten into that realm of making costumes for sale, like 3D printing parts and molding them, and then just trying to like mass produce them, or making vacuum formed pieces. Like, I think the reason I haven't gotten into that is because I wasn't exposed to that side of business. If you hear how that squeaking, is my stupid chair. I hope it's not super loud. But
No, it's not that bad.
What inspired me to do like these kind of pieces was, I think it was like my first show at 2018. No, it was way before that. It was like 2015, Monsterpalooza. No, it couldn't have been.
No, it's not.
2000.
When was your first Monsterpalooza? Was it the day we met, or was it the year before that?
My first Monsterpalooza was 2000.
17?
It was 18.
Was
But-
that the one that we met?
No,
I feel like 2018 was my first one.
because I looked back on my
Because I went for
my
2
sales
consecutive
history
years.
when I bought my booth. It was 2018.
19.
Because we're in 2000. Oh, it was 2019. It was
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah, 2018 was when we met.
Yeah. So
at the Iron Head.
yeah. Okay. Now I'm starting to understand. Yeah, because my last booth was not last year, obviously, but the year before that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was 2019. So yeah, my first Monsterpalooza was event. Like I didn't participate in that event. It was my first one. Is when I started seeing all these like art pieces and sculptures, and I was like, man, I want to do that. I want to sell stuff like that. Well, first off, my first instinct was I want to buy stuff like that.
Yeah,
And,
that was definitely the day that we met the year before, like a whole year before that, we were just walking around admiring all the dope stuff people were making.
Yeah, and my dream was to sell there because I was like, this is everything and anything I love, and I want to be a part of that. So that's when I started making sculptures. That's why I made that Frankenstein. I could bring it out. I'll just bring it out. I'm sure you guys have seen it already, but I'm just gonna bring it out. This was like I was inspired to do this sculpture because of that show.
Yeah.
And sadly, I was never able to present it at the show before the shutdown. So it just kind of sits here waiting for its opportunity.
But we'll get there. Maybe in a year.
Yeah, and maybe in a year I'll have this done as well. So I'll have more than one piece to display at the booth. Because when I first did my Monsterpalooza booth, it was very minimal. I had probably about, I think, I had four individual sculptures that were about like this big, no bigger than this. I think the biggest one actually was like this, and it was another Frankenstein, which I stopped selling those because they were just so outdated. So yeah, I started with little stuff like magnets, all the little stuff, because I wanted something that was easy to sculpt, easy to produce, and then I got into the mindset after doing the big shows. I was like, I want to do bigger because I want to make an impression, and I don't like too big because I guess thinking in like a business perspective, it's hard to sell at a larger scale than it is to sell at a medium scale. And I think, not that it's impossible, obviously it's very, very possible. Everybody does it. But when starting off, you kind of have to invest small. Like I started off from sculptures that were this big, started selling sculptures this big, and then moving up to this big, and then got this big, and now I'm at Frankenstein, and then now I'm at this guy. So the scale will eventually go up, especially when, you're receiving a consistent amount of sales through them, or you realize, okay, it's going to be a better investment if I start scaling up. So maybe the next sculpture might be somewhat life size. I've definitely done some life size stuff, but it's not easy to mold something that's my size, because first off, it's like storage. Second off is cost of material. Well, first off is cost of material. Second off is storage. But at some point, yeah, I plan to do bigger stuff. But for now, I'm kind of sticking to my little scale, or my medium scale. I feel like this is the most manageable size to do something.
Yeah, I was going to say, for a collector to have a bust of like a creature like Godzilla, that's probably the best size.
No.
I just dropped my phone. Don't mind that sound.
Oh, but Brandon makes a great point. It's also, you got to think clientele-wise. It's like,
yeah,
what's more likely for someone to buy? Something that
and we're both
is this big?
We're both collectors, so it's really easy to determine that.
Yeah, because you, as a collector, you realize how important shelving is, how important organization is to the bare
like a typical shelf size would be like 14 to 16 inches. So if you do a sculpture that's 2 feet tall, no one's gonna buy that. What are they gonna do? Like stick it on their dining room table? Like no one's gonna want to do that.
It's got to be a very desired piece for you to be like, okay, this is very profitable to mass produce something this big, because it's big enough and it's small enough where it's gonna fit somewhere, but it's gonna look grand enough where someone's gonna appreciate it.
Yeah, and even if this one seems big, like when you see it in person, it's kind of big, but when you take in consideration how large Godzilla is, this is like a 1/100th scale, or like
this is like
even smaller.
This is like a 10,000 scale.
Yeah, it's so even if it seems like a big bust in comparison to the character it's representing, it's not very big.
Yeah,
and it will definitely fit on a shelf or fit in an IKEA Detolf glass shelf or something. But speaking about Star Wars and whatnot, back when you showed the early Yoda sculpt that you did, Brandon said it looks so good, even as a first sculpt that's far better than Hasbro's Walmart Yodas you see. Which is a major compliment, and also a major diss at Walmart and Hasbro.
Yeah.
Hi Hasbro.
You Hasbro.
Hi Hasbro.
Yeah, I think growing up, another point to get on, other than Monster Palooza, as far as like what kind of like inspired me to make statues was, uh, I think it was funny because my addiction to collecting, and yes, I refer to it as an addiction
It's
because
definitely an addiction.
yeah, there's no other explanation for why I do it
Yeah.
or why I continue doing it.
Yeah, it's just you like to do it. That's it.
Eventually, I do want to make a video of my whole collection, not because
To show off.
to show off, but because I feel like it's so oddly large
For a 21-year-old.
for a 21-year-old to have. I feel like my collection is more like it's better to explain if I was like a 40-something-year-old, where like I've had years of
Yeah, but
time to
also-
collect and
but also,
tons of money to invest.
Being a 21-year-old now, you did work for a big Hollywood costuming studio for 3 years. So you definitely had good paychecks and no bills because we're teenagers, or we were teenagers. So you could definitely just get away with spending a lot of money on a lot of stuff that you want. Because we all did that when we first got jobs.
What was crazy was because for a certain point of my life, I was living on my own out there in Hollywood. I probably moved. It's so funny, but I moved out to Hollywood for I would say about maybe 6 months. Simplify it to the point where it didn't work out. I'm not going to go into the reasons why, but the place didn't work out.
Yeah, just none of your business.
At the exact same time, I decided to kind of freelance for a couple months. And the freelancing has been going so well, I've just been kind of refraining from re-entering that industry again, which, granted, it's there when I need it. It just like happened so great where I just was like, okay, I'm just going to move back home for a little bit. And a little bit turned into
Full time.
yeah, and that's why I started working on the shed because like I need a place to work. I need a place to do my stuff, and I just been working 15 hours a day on all this, just as much as I can get done. And it's so I can't explain to you how amazing it is to just wake up and only work on what you love. And your stuff, and it's fantastic, and that's why I think I've been getting into that kind of like itch of just being comfortable, just doing my own thing. But
yeah, and right off the bat, it was high stress, just because no source of income, no guarantee it'll work out soon, but just gotta stick with it and just keep working.
oh yeah, and it's definitely been picking up, which is the great thing. It's like I mentioned in the beginning, persistence is what's going to get you all the way, not 50% of the way, not 20% of the way. Persistence, and it's been definitely showing. Brandon has been coming a lot more often too, which is good for him because I want him to learn as much as he can, and it's good for me because I have a helping hand to get things done around here. It's no longer just me killing myself, not sleeping. It's now me sharing my death and sleep deprived. That's why when me and Brandon do these live streams, we mention the common fact of we're tired.
Yeah, it's like Robert works 7 days a week on this stuff. Might take a couple hours to relax, and I'm working 6 days a week at both my job and here. So we're just tired.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why today I feel, or I seem, if it's noticeable, I feel a lot better, is because I took the majority of today to kind of just collect myself so that this live stream doesn't end the way it did last time, because I'm quite ahead of what I'm working on, so it's not like I'm gonna fall behind. But yeah, it was nice to just collect myself today. And this live stream, I feel so lively. I didn't even realize we're at an hour and a half.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And I feel like we're having great conversation on this live stream.
Yeah, because people are actually participating. Thank you.
Yeah, and what's great is I keep dragging on my questions, so the questions keep building on behind that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could go on for like an extra 30 minutes or extra 20 minutes.
Yeah. And
I like to ride the wave of when things are going well, because the whole point of doing this live stream is to kind of just chill and have fun. And if no one's having fun, what's the point?
Yeah, and last week we were eager to end the thing.
Oh, we were so tired.
And from earlier when you said you want to show your collection not as a flex, and then I brought up that you worked for Ironhead for 3 years and made a bunch of money, and Travis said, that's a flex.
Well, that was my point that I was going to get to. It was like I moved out of my parents' house for 6 months, and I was living on my own, still being an irresponsible young adult, buying the stupidest things. Like, my collection, man, is so, like, just put it.
Everything's a banger. Don't let
put
it
it-
fool you.
put it-
Everything's a banger.
Put it this way. I have 3 separate rooms filled with this stuff. The shop, including one, and the shop's not filled with
Yeah.
collection stuff. It's filled with a lot of like work in progress stuff. Obviously, like I would not use this as a storage place, but there definitely is projects we're working on that is technically my collection.
Yeah.
That is in the process
Just
of
put
being
it
done.
This way. Once we're done like decorating, getting this place set up and functioning, we're gonna be putting in shelves and putting collectibles.
Oh yeah,
on
like
them.
this whole wall. Like I have 2 almost like barn door shaped walls, and one of them is used as, you know, for the garage door, and you know there's 2 panels on the side that are kind of empty or there's stuff in the way. But this whole wall on the other side is going to be like nice stained wooden panels, and that is going to be an amazing display wall for all the stuff I work on.
And I could bring in stuff from my collections too.
It's just going to be a big beauty shot when people walk in, where it's just like, you know, it's going to be a project wall pretty much, because on top of me collecting finished products, I collect stuff to work on. Like I have helmets that I still need sanding. I still need a paint. I have Brandon's mask that I've been working on that I still need to sculpt, mold, and cast.
That we need to trash because I'm about to be skinny and we need a new life cast.
I have other props that I've collected over the years from friends and other artists that, you know, I need to hang up. It's like, so my collection grows not just in the medium of sculptures, but like in the area of sculptures. Like it continues in also like all the props and effects that I collected over the years. So I've been wanting to do a video, but for some reason I kind of want to wait until my shop is organized, because a huge part of the presentation is everything finished, and I have so much unfinished stuff. I would hate to show a video of just, you know, blank castings, because it's not as appealing. But at some point, you know, I do want to do something like that. I think it would be kind of just not a flex, but just kind of cool to show all the stuff I've worked on, all the stuff I've collected over the years, because it just kind of sits.
I wouldn't consider it a flex if people are coming to the channel to see props and special effects and replicas and whatnot, to see a little set of the room filled with props and special effects and whatnot. It's definitely not a flex, because we're not going to be like talking about, oh, look at my mask and look at my lightsaber. It's just going to be there. So if
no, I'm definitely going to be like, look at my
that
lightsaber.
Stuff, it's there for you, but it's definitely not going to be us just showing off our stuff. It's just there to add something to the little set area.
Yeah, but
so it's not just
I'll put it this way. I've been collecting for 3 years, and within that time span of 3 years, I've actually stopped collecting. I slowed down on collecting. That's the term I'm using for it.
Yeah.
I slowed down, meaning I'm not buying something every week or every month. I'm buying something maybe once every other month, and it's no more than a couple hundred.
And I'm selling stuff right now, so
yeah. I definitely have stuff that's on its way. So maybe when all that stuff comes, I bought a lot of stuff before.
Before you quit Ironhead.
No, before COVID.
Oh yeah.
So
same thing.
Yeah. So yeah, because technically I left when COVID was like
you
at its peak.
left around what, October?
So I have a lot of stuff that got put behind, and now it's on its way, and I'm so excited for all that. Like geeking out, like I'm so excited to get all that stuff because I've waited over a year for it at this point.
I'm the same way. There's props in my eBay watch list that have been there for so long, and I'm stoked no one's bought them yet. So when I get these tax returns, There's not a lot of props. There's definitely just one prop I want more than anything, and I'll show you guys that when and if I get that.
Yeah, definitely bring
Oh,
some stuff.
I will definitely be bringing some stuff.
And we'll show a whole tour through all the rooms and all my collection of
and it's not
crap.
like all 3 rooms are Robert's collections. Like the studio has stuff we're working on, stuff that we're going to be working on, just little knickknacks and projects. But his bedroom has all of his sculptures that he's bought, collectibles, and then the other room is like him and his dad's collection because his dad's also a little geeky boy.
And it's his collection because I bought it.
Yeah.
Let me get that straight too. There's
Yeah, but
definitely
what about that
is some
Godzilla
stuff
head he
he's
sculpted
got.
or put together.
Oh yeah, that was like one of his first like fabrication projects. I'll explain all that later, but there is some
do a video of
art
how
stuff in there.
Godzilla's better than his dad's. No, I'm just playing.
But
That's a flex.
But yeah, it'll definitely be like really fun to kind of just go through all of that stuff.
And it'll be more than one video. We're not gonna do all 3 rooms in one video because it'll either be a long video or it'll be cut down so bad you're just gonna miss stuff.
You're just like, oh my god, what is all that? Yeah, like
studio tour will be a thing once it's a studio.
Yeah, or
not just a workspace.
Or it might just be a really long video, and you guys it'll be like a live stream, but just of like everything. Just because like it could like raw uncut 3 hours.
Us walking around your entire property, because none of the rooms are connected at all.
Oh yeah.
His room's separate from the house. He has his own little mini house where he lives. The studio's separate from the house and his mini house, and then him and his dad's collections in the garage of his parents' actual house. Like, nothing's connected, so doing that as a live stream would be so hectic.
Yeah.
We'd just be walking around, which is kind of sketchy, because people might see the property and find us on Google Maps and steal our stuff.
Don't give them that idea.
I'm giving you the fear
the
so
awareness.
That we don't do a live stream of us walking around your property. No,
everything's locked up, and we have a big-ass dog in the yard, so either way.
We don't have a guard pig anymore. There was like a 250 pound pig in the backyard that his dad had as like a pet. His mom's like, I'm tired of feeding this thing, get rid of it. So
and she's like, I'm tired of smelling this thing.
She's like, cook it already.
Don't say no. That was not true at all.
No, but they sold him to a different family.
Yeah, that's gonna.
But it's great.
Try to breed him.
It doesn't smell like
manure every time we come into the shop. But
it's a little bit quieter too.
Yeah, but yeah, the shop, the tour of the collection will definitely be like I'm gonna do a tour of the collection, and I'm gonna be doing a tour of the shop at some point, which is just gonna be like
and we could probably
little
also
spin
do
around.
like our top 5 favorite things from our personal collections.
Oh
you
yeah.
can show off one, I can show off one. We'll just go back and forth and chat because we're all interested in the same stuff. So if I have a prop he likes, he has a prop I like, we could just chat about him. That's a good idea. I'm gonna write that down. But I'm not. It's
Write
just
that down.
Gonna be in my brain.
And then we'll forget it by tomorrow, and then
I'm
we'll
not
be
gonna
complaining
forget about
about
it.
why
It's a
we don't
good
have
idea.
any good ideas.
I say like it's a great idea, but there's so many people that just do that.
I know. That's a great idea that everybody does.
That. Travis said 250 pounds, question mark, exclamation point, pet, all caps, question, exclamation point. Yes, pet meaning it sits in a cage and you feed it. 250 pounds meaning all it does is sit in a cage and get fed. Yeah.
But yeah, well, those are some videos on the horizon. And for those of you that care, I apologize for not being able to post every Saturday. That's why I've been kind of making up for it for doing live streams every Friday, which I will continue to do it.
Yeah, as long as you guys are still down to jump in and chat with us.
Like I said, it is kind of difficult to kind of juggle working on a consistent piece like this, doing freelance work, because I can't just like make videos out of every freelance project I do, because that's just not professional. But with like, you know, the buyer's permission, you know, I definitely would do that. Like I'm doing a skull mask or a skull cap for Brandon, and or a Spider-Man skull cap, and I'm not going to show it yet because that's going to be for a whole video. But
not me, Brandon.
Yeah, not me, Brandon 1, and then this is Brandon 2.
No,
so you guys don't get
I'm older than
You're
him,
gonna
and
confuse
you know
them.
Me. Why am I the second one? I'm like 2 years older than him, and you actually know me. You're like, that's why. It's because I know you. He hasn't given me a reason to
Not
hate
to
him
give
yet.
him the number 2. But yeah, like I got some projects on the horizon. I definitely have at least like 3 videos sitting in a box. I need to finish editing and upload. I think the hardest part about making videos is the music, to be honest. Like, I'll have the video done and I just can't find the right song. Sometimes I just use some random song, but when my buddy Alan, who does the cinematography for me, when he does those videos, they come out so beautiful, and it's like, why would I just
find
slap
some
on
song,
some YouTube
some SoundCloud
non-copyright
beats.
beat,
Yeah,
and then just slap it on, like it's so nasty. Like not nasty, but it's just like, it's
disrespectful.
it's disrespectful to the hard work.
It's like when you buy a great collection piece and you don't have a display for it, or you
just put it on the floor.
You put it on your desk. You're like, oh, look at my lightsaber just sitting next to your laptop.
Are you talking about the one that's on my desk?
I wasn't, but you do have one on
like
your desk.
I have like a.
But you also have a display for the finished version of that one.
Actually, that one is the finished version. The unfinished version is displayed. It's like a $350 lightsaber hilt that's just sitting on my desk as like a...
That's a flex.
I just mean like it's an expensive thing that's just sitting on my desk.
And the cheap ones on the display shelf.
And the cheap ones on the shelf. But yeah, well, like, what I was going to say, like, for like... In going back to like apologizing for not being able to do videos, when this sculpture's done, just to let you guys know, I do about like one passion project a year. This one should have been my 2020 passion project, but I was caught between building this the shed. I was still working down in Hollywood, moving up here. Like, it was just this big...
And the Scavenger's been a project for
the Scavenger project. It was kind of hard to kind of fit in this project and get it done. So I started him quite late, a little bit after I moved back home. So the past like 3 months. Every time I refer to this sculpture, I say I've been working on him for the past 6 months. I've only been home for 4 months, and and the first month and a half I spent building this thing.
Yeah.
And then the shed, and then afterwards
studio.
I was working on. I know I say shed. It's degrading.
Welcome to my shed.
It's the studio, and then working on the Scavenger. So I started him quite late, and now it's just me trying to like catch up on lost time. I'm finishing some passion projects. So once he's done, he's going to be my passion project for 2020, and then I'm going to immediately start on the Raptor head for 2021. And hold on.
I don't think I got any Instagram questions. Did you? Or did you not even post about them?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to check right now.
Yeah, because the only question I think I got was from Dylan. Because Dylan's the GOAT and everyone else is just ghosting.
So, what I was going to say is, so the Raptor project I'm going to work on next. And then afterwards, I'm just going to do a buttload of just videos. And the reason being is because there's a lot of stuff I have to get done. I got the Vader project to finish. I have the Mandalorian helmet. I was working on... Oh, you guys don't know about that, but I'm working on a Mandalorian helmet, which I bought the helmet, but now I'm just sanding it, cleaning it up, and I got to paint it. I'm working on a Mask for Brandon, which is the Joker project, part 1. You guys should go watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, if you want to see me super fat.
I got this project, which is also a video. So when he's done, I'll have a video for him. I have some other, the Spider-Man shell mask. I have the Mandalorian blaster. Like, there's so much fun stuff I want to work on, but I got to get done with, what makes the money, which is my art pieces. So once I'm done with my art pieces, I can start focusing on the stuff that's just for fun. Granted, the Vader project is going to be a mass-produced piece. It is going to be available, the helmet. That's a little,
That's
insight.
Because it's going to be a while from now.
Yeah, it's going to be a while for now, but eventually... Just to let you guys know, I didn't sculpt the helmet. It is a casting from the original, mold, not the original mold. It has to be at
Like
least
retool.
a few generation old mold. And if you want to understand what generational mold means, is let's say I make a mold, I sculpt something, I make a mold of it. That mold starts to rot. So last minute, I pour in a masterpiece. I take it out, and then I mold that one again, and then I have a second generation mold.
Recast upon recast.
On a casting. So the original mold was molded off of the original sculpture. Now the second mold is molded off of a casting of the original mold. And then when that mold dies off, you cast another master out and you mold that one, and then it just becomes a casting of a casting.
The original Star Wars was like 70s, 80s.
So. Yeah, so you can't expect the mold to last that long.
Yeah.
So this is a generational piece, but it is an original sculpt.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing, and a lot of people are gonna hate this, I'm retooling it in a sense, like I'm making it a lot more machine finish and a lot smoother. I could have kept the original look, but also the original movie wasn't super keen on detail when it came to Vader. So it is kind of wonky. It is a little weird. But at the same time, it is a generational piece, so I can't expect it to be as clean as the first pull. Yeah. So it is very wonky, and I can guarantee it's wonkier than it should be.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it, because when you see the movie, they didn't have HD cameras, and when they come out with remastered, it's color corrected. It's not, so you don't realize how unprofessional it's finished. Like, as far as sculpt goes, it's not symmetrical. There's dings and dents in it and whatnot. So by Robert retooling it, it's to make it look how you'd think it look. Because the way it really looks, if you were to get that piece from Night Image, you were like, there's no way this is the Darth Vader helmet. Because it's so wonky, but
yeah,
once it's finished,
it taints,
once it gets retooled,
it taints my reputation too if I were to just say like, oh yeah, like we'll just use it as is, because essentially like people might not understand how old the piece is, and they're like, why is this so crappy?
Yeah, and it's like when you watch Rogue One, they didn't use an original helmet.
Yeah, you look at the Vader from Rogue One.
It's so shiny and crispy.
Yeah.
And if you see the helmet that we have from the original mold, or from the recast, it's unbelievable how like just kooky it is.
Yeah.
It's so weird, but it's a testament to the time and the low budget that they had. So
exactly.
For being low budget and being as not as progressed industry-wise.
Mm-hmm. Like you can't pull that shit off now.
It's great for what it is, but for now, it's not acceptable.
Yeah, and especially for something that's going to be like a mass-produced piece. Like I want collectors to have quality, and there is collectors that want the realistic version of something. Like I'm not the realistic, the accurate version of something, but in my experience, I prefer something to look better than to look accurate. In that sense, I definitely do go down that rabbit hole of making something accurate, especially with lightsabers. Like if they have to look dented, if they have to have scratches, if they have to have smudges, like I'll go down that rabbit hole. But when it comes to Vader, when it comes to an actual helmet, like you don't want it to look, especially because Vader's so, well, he's supposed to emulate like a very machine look, and if he's like all like wobbly and just all wonky, warped, like. Yeah. I got to do something about that. Otherwise, it's just not going to... It's so bad, it doesn't matter how accurate it is, it looks terrible.
Yeah, because it's perfectly accurate. But if you saw it, you wouldn't think it is.
So...
Because your brain is ingrained with it being a perfect machined helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see it in Rogue One in HD, it is a perfectly machined helmet.
Yeah, and that's kind of like... how the look grows from there on, like you see in like Revenge of the Sith, or Rogue One, or I think that was it, right?
Yeah.
Vader.
As far as live action Vader,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a whole machine suit, so to kind of backtrack on that, it would just, especially because it's gonna take place in the Scavenger universe. I wanted to have a good look to it, and afterwards I'm gonna sell some of them because at this point it isn't a copyright thing to take a casting of Vader and make it your own and then be like, this is mine, and then try to sound like this is mine. It's like, this is inaccurate. This is a casting of the original helmet. I fixed it my own, and now I'm gonna sell it because I wouldn't do that if some artist made one and it was very accurate, and he was like, oh, I made this very accurate, and then I just polished it up to make it better and then try to sell it. I would never do something like that. So the only reason I'm selling the Vader helmet is because it's an original casting, and it's a retooled version of the original casting by me, and I'm gonna be fabricating the whole base for it, the whole form. It's gonna be more than just like a still bus. It might have a little bit more to it, a little bit more twerk. I might end up having a hand as a part of, like, because it's gonna be belly button up, so there's definitely gonna be a good portion.
Yeah, but it's still in the designing process.
Yeah,
so take that with a grain.
Take that with a grain of salt. Don't expect to be like a whole chopped up half version of him, like it's in the works. It's still down the line. Brandon's working on cleaning it up a little bit before I finish it off to mold, but that's a project that's down the line. The Vader.
Also, speaking on selling busts of it, we'd be asinine not to have a retooled helmet and have the capabilities to make it a collectible prop to sell for a good amount of money. We'd be crazy not to jump on that.
Yeah, it'd be very selfish.
It'd be stupid.
So
yeah, totally.
I am definitely gonna mold him within the next 2 months. It's gonna cost me around $2,500 maybe.
I'll chip in a little bit.
But it's definitely gonna, and the $2,500 is the essential part. After that, I don't want to make it super expensive because
no one would want it.
Yeah, and I see helmets go online for like thousands and thousands of dollars. Not saying it's not going to cost around $1,000 because it is.
It very well could be.
There's a good chance it could be, depending on how much I decide to build upon it. It is going to be sold as a Night Image exclusive piece, so it's not going to be like a
unlimited.
It's not going to be like I'm only going to make 5. I'm going to make it as if I was selling it as an art piece. Yeah. And I'm going to take pride in it because it is an original casting. Otherwise, like I said, I wouldn't do that. I find it very gross to take credit for someone else's work. Granted, the original sculptor, I might be taking credit for his work, but seeing how much they capitalize on the character has become like an iconic relic. So having a piece like that in general is it's an honor to be able to kind of improve upon it with my own touch. All the pieces are going to be painted with automotive. I was tempted on just kind of using like a rattle can and kind of bypassing the idea of just like, as long as it looks similar, that's enough. But each helmet is going to be painted with automotive paint. It's going to be cleared. It's going to look as amazing as it can possibly look. I don't know if I'm going to make them into wearable pieces. I might sell some wearable helmets separately, but they are. I am in the mindset of making them into busts, rather than wearable pieces.
You could do like a giveaway.
Oh,
for
definitely
like
with
a wearable.
Every one of my sculptures, I'm doing a giveaway.
We only make 3 or 4 wearables, and there's like whatchamacallit? No, we're just letting my mind literally what I'm talking about.
Just a limited edition run?
No, I mean a giveaway. Like, it could be a giveaway every couple months. Or it could be once a year. It could be at Christmas time. It's whoever, because Star Wars is associated with Christmas.
May the 4th.
There was released some in Christmas.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a special thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's definitely going to be a special thing when that sculpture is done, that bust is done. Yeah. Because Star Wars has always been a staple into my my persistence in this industry, and I definitely want to kind of grow my business upon that idea. That's why a lot of my videos kind of include a lot of Star Wars stuff. Like the Scavenger was one of the first things that kind of started off, me making videos, because I wanted to kind of show the whole process of all of that, like the behind the scenes, and the behind the scenes turned into, just little cool videos of me making stuff and Vader has definitely been like the most influential character out of Star Wars, and to finally kind of finish a suit, like I wouldn't like to just hold it to myself. Like the scavenger, he's so unique of a character. I couldn't just like mass produce him and make busts out of him.
No.
He's kind of just put together by random things. He's not built off of like a specific starting point where I'm like, oh, I could just grab this fabric, order more of this fabric, stitch it this way. Like I just kind of machined him together into, whatever I saw fit. And with Vader, he's more of that kind of stepping stone where it's like, oh, I know, I just need to start with leather, make a patterning for him. And then that's something more manageable to mass produce. And that's why I'm going to mass produce Vader. And I'm really excited for that project. I'm really excited to see who wants one. Like I said, don't expect it to be cheap because automotive paint's not cheap. Nothing of that project is going to be cheap. So it definitely, just in general, is going to be a higher end piece. More than these. Like you're looking at a bust that's like about like this big, taller than the screen. So it's gonna take a while, but hopefully within the next 2 months I can mold him and then have him in the process of being mass produced within the next year. By the end of the year, it's way closer to the middle of the year. It'll be available and ready, and I don't know. Whoever likes it likes it. I put my tooling into it, my touch. So if people appreciate that extra touch I added, cool. But if not, like, there's other helmets out there.
Okay. We're out of questions, and there's 3 minutes left to the schedule.
I feel like this is great. I feel like this is a great point to head off on. It was a very chill live stream. I definitely did something on my sculpture. Yeah. I'm not going to zoom in, but like right here, you can see all this jaw. I started patterning out his scales, which is great. That gets me a little ahead. But I'm going to end off by, do you have any last questions?
No, there's no more questions.
Let me check on mine just in case. If you didn't ask any questions, that's fine.
And everyone just likes to scroll past my stuff. But that's fine. I don't want your questions anyway.
Oh, it's fine. This live stream, to be honest, was kind of a last minute thing. Reason being, because, like I said, I don't have time to make videos. And to be honest, I like to prioritize my art over anything. And I kind of make videos when the end of the day's done and I'm kind of dying of sleep. That's the kind of time frame in which I make videos. Because it's the only time I can sacrifice. Because I can't sculpt and I can't do any other art form when I'm tired, other than make videos. But I'm going to be a little bit busier within the next month or so. So just kind of expect a lot of live streams. I might use my live streams as an excuse to work on stuff. It's going to be every Friday, 100% every Friday. I'm going to be here 7 o'clock all the time if you guys want to join. I plan to make it a little more exciting every time. This kind of live stream was a little bit mixture of like pop culture stuff, Godzilla, sculpting, personal stuff, and that's fine. Whatever direction the live stream goes, I'm all for it.
Yeah, we rolled the punches.
I'm sorry you guys have just been looking at this the whole time. I should have at least tried spinning it, working on the other side.
First time Travis commented that's gnarly with 50 Ys.
But thank you guys for tuning into this live stream. How many more? Just got like 1 more minute, so I'm just going to end off with hopefully you can expect a lot of videos within the next couple the next month. Somehow I'm going to be trying to getting some interesting stuff. Like I mention all the time, if you have anything you want to see in regarding to the effects industry, casting tutorials, maybe some painting tutorials, whatever you guys kind of want that I could, kind of fit in, would be cool. Because other than that, it's just going to be big projects like the Raptor project, the Darth Vader project, the Spider-Man project, which isn't really a project. Yeah. It's going to be a one video. The Joker project, like there's the tour, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
and everything's a time-consuming project, and we're so busy with personal life, like busy with jobs and whatnot. It'll be a while before they're all finished, but over the course of next year, you'll see the progression for everything.
yeah, like definitely every week there's going to be something, whether it's a live stream, whether it's a video. If you are watching a live stream, and I do mention there's a video tomorrow, also stay tuned for that video tomorrow. That also helps. I try not to do videos back to back. It's quite difficult to kind of help people engage, because you're like, oh, I just spent 2 hours yesterday on a video, and now all of a sudden there's a video the next day, and then I don't see another video for 6 weeks. But I would prefer not to post weekdays, because not many people get to enjoy it. But if it becomes that thing, I might just do live streams Friday and post Wednesdays or some midweek, or maybe I don't know.
Everything's flying by the seat of our pants because
Yeah.
we're tired and busy, and priorities are priorities.
Yeah,
So,
but this is something I definitely want to maintain the consistency,
definitely.
because it is the only outlet in which I can kind of express myself artistically, and
Yes.
it's fun. There's no other, like, the simplest explanation for all of this is fun, but I
yeah,
want
and
to.
it's stress free. There's no 5 hours of editing, choosing a song, choosing a thumbnail. It's put together, and we just have a time.
Yeah, and we have a good time, and then at the end of this, it uploads by itself. So
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
stress-free.
I appreciate everyone that keeps coming to watch the videos. I know the Frankenstein live streams didn't do as well, but I could care less. It was really fun. But I also care in that sense, because I know I want people to enjoy what they're watching, rather than me just
Enjoy what you're doing.
enjoying what I'm doing. Yes, because to some degree, yes, I want to enjoy what I'm doing, but to another degree, I want people that are tuning in to enjoy what they're watching. And that's why I went back to Godzilla, because it's the only thing I can kind of work on while showing my face, and I feel like it makes it a little bit more personal for me to be like up in front of the camera, rather than like to the side with like my hand showing. So I'm gonna be doing more of this, and if I end up painting some stuff, I'll be painting like this. And if you guys want to see up close,
We'll
I'll
just turn it around and show you it.
Mm-hmm. So, expect more live streams every Friday. Expect a live stream every Friday. Expect some videos within the next month. I hope the live streams are enough to keep you guys kind of tuned in for the next month, while I kind of just grind through all this stuff, and try to get back, finish all these freelance projects, all these personal projects, and kind of get back to the fun in all of it. Because with the scavenger, I had so much free time.
Yeah.
I was kind of just making whatever I want. I would work on like a whole day on the scavenger and make so much progress that the next day I start working on, the Joker stuff. I start working on some other videos, and like it was so fun, because it was so different every day, and every week. Like, it was just something new to work on, and that's what I kind of want to maintain this flow to be like. Like, I want different things here and there. Obviously, I'll still do part 1, part 2, but right now I'm just kind of in that little stuck area where I'm just working on a singular thing, trying to get it done so I can focus on the other stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. I know I did. I'm really excited for next week too. Hopefully I can find out something different. I hope I didn't announce it too last minute, even though an hour before the live stream is last minute. But for those of you that were able to join, for those of you that were able to consistently stay tuned for these 2 hours, I really appreciate that. That's what makes this fun. For everybody that came in and added their own question, I love that. I love when people participate. It makes the whole live stream go by faster, which isn't the point. I don't want it to go by any faster, but
time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, and
We'd like to enjoy our time here.
yeah, I think this was the most enjoyable live stream, because it was less stressful, just a little bit more organized, and I feel like the topics were a little bit more
Different. Compare the normal questions. It's always the same questions, pretty much.
Yeah. So, thank you guys for watching. I'm going to tune out pretty soon. Before you exit off the live stream, if you could, scroll through my channel, just see some little videos you might like to watch. And
And if you don't got time, add it to the watch list. And
add it to the watch list and watch it later.
Toilet.
Yeah.
We all know that's what you do.
Yeah. I also my Patreon. I don't like mentioning the Patreon thing because I think it's kind of. I appreciate anybody that participates in it, but it's not something I try to bring up a lot because it's more so if you can, you can. It's about just trying to find another way to do this a little bit more consistently so I can have more resources to make bigger, cooler stuff, and it really helps out the company. So I'll put the link in, or it'll probably be in by now. But all I can ask for you guys is if you can subscribe. That is the biggest one. I know it's hard. A lot of people, I see a lot of views, and I'm just like, just go and just subscribe. It doesn't take long. But I know it takes a lot for someone to want to be committed to watching someone's stuff. So I would appreciate it if you guys would subscribe. It really shows, how much, interest people are taking into this kind of stuff, and
it gives us more motivation to keep working.
Yeah, not saying that I lack motivation, but it definitely
boosts you.
It boosts the spirits of wanting to do this when the community is so positive and so loving, and for all the people that have been here for the past 2 months, supporting, it's been a blast. Me and Brandon have definitely had a blast, and that's why I continue doing these live streams, because I realize how much.
Yeah, we went from every other Friday to every Friday.
Yeah.
That's how much we enjoy them.
So thank you guys for watching. Tune in for more stuff coming in. Leave off with subscribe, like,
click the bell, leave a comment.
Click the bell, leave a comment. Helps with the
follow us on Instagram, even though everybody that's on this
is because they probably follow me. Yeah.
Shout us out. Give us a little bit of help.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next Friday, and if I end up posting something by next Friday, I'll let you guys know when, so you guys can stay tuned. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. This live stream was really fun. I'll keep you guys posted on Godzilla, and I'll see you all next Friday. Peace out.